Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to our live webinar on Proteus CMMS. My name is Harry Kohal, and I'll be conducting this webinar today. And you can reach me at harryk@eaglecmms.com, and we will take questions at the end of the webinar in case anybody has any. So look forward to having you hear what we have to say today. Eagle Technology is located in Mequon, Wisconsin. That's just 10 miles north of downtown Milwaukee. And we have been in the software CMMS enterprise asset management market since 1988. We have global users. We're translated into multiple languages, and we have distributors and dealers in countries around the world. Proteus CMMS is a tool that helps organizations measure to manage. One of my former mentors told me that unless you're measuring something, it's impossible to manage it. And in the maintenance world, it's critical to identify what needs to be measured and managed. And Proteus is a tool that helps you do that. It's mobile. We support iOS, Android, and Surface Pro, the Microsoft operating system environments. And we turn your data into insight. So I'm going to start right now with the actual live demonstration of the product. I'll give you a very high overview of it. If there are any questions, raise your hand. We'll take them during the session and answer them as we go along, so we can keep it relatively informal, hopefully. There are some key performance indicators that show on the home screen. These are some of them. The scheduled versus unscheduled work, and then overdue work orders. And as you can see in our demonstration system, we haven't had anybody closing work orders for quite some time, which is not a good practice. But we have, from a volume standpoint, currently 7,441 work orders open in our system. That's more than most multinational organizations would ever have, but it's just to show you the power and capabilities of the system, that it is capable of supporting global environments in terms of volumes and so forth. We give weekly overviews of the data in terms of work orders and things like that. And we have a message board, and when a technician or a person logs in that has work orders assigned to them, they will see the My Work Orders right here. Right now, there's nothing assigned to me as I'm logged in as the administrator. But those are just a couple of the key performance indicators. There are more, and I can give you an idea of, we can look at work order by location. We can look at total cost by facilities. We can look at demand and preventive maintenance hours by month, root cause failure graph, okay? So these are other key performance indicators that simply by selecting the specific chart, it will show up on the home page. So if I would save that and go back to my home page, you'll see that there's additional key performance indicators on the page. And just take a second. The system is comprised of assets. Assets are the things that you maintain, whether it's a roof or a piece of equipment in the building or the exterior of the building, parking lots and things like that, sidewalks. We're coming to the time of the year in Wisconsin where it's critical to inspect sidewalks because the frost makes them uneven, and it becomes a safety hazard for a lot of organizations that have public entering and exiting their buildings. So regardless of the type of asset that you want to manage, Proteus can do it. Just to show you, here's the example of the DM and PM costs by month. So we've got a little bit of a question. Okay, somebody couldn't see my screen, now they're seeing it. So again, assets, anything that you want to schedule for maintenance, check for safety, depending on your particular industry. The asset tree, and I'm going to focus here on my hospital and my factory complex, okay? I can have multiple floors in a building. I can have multiple buildings and sites associated with the system, so that I can go down to a specific level in the building and go to a room or a production line and see the specific equipment associated with that specific area. We can track parts. Parts are critical even in buildings to make sure you have your light bulbs, your fan, your belts, your light bulbs, your belts, and your filters, for example, in place. So even if you outsource maintenance, you may want to keep track of some specific parts associated with a building. We can track tools. So in a manufacturing environment, tools need to be inspected every year in the United States for safety if they're electrical and have cords. So you can set up a tool in the system and also schedule a preventive maintenance against that tool, allowing you to make sure that all of your safety inspections associated with tools or any other asset occur on a regular basis. The risk management people really like this feature. Associates, employees are the people who do the work, and you can have any number of people in the system. By the way, this is a filter box. You only see the R's here, names that begin with R, but when I remove it, you'll see that there's a laundry list of people that have access to this system, and I can sort this list by either employee number or by associate name, and now they're all alphabetical. And I can sort ascending or descending. This is a feature that's available throughout the system and allows easy access to data in real time. A lot of people that are familiar with older systems look for reports. And in this world today, what you're really looking for is real-time data. And these filters allow you to select and identify. So if I want to find everything that begins with a B here, for example, I can do that. Then if I want to go here and find something that begins with an A, I can do that. Now I showed you begins with, but we also can do contains, ends with, equals, that does not contain. And on the date fields, we're able to set date ranges for specific dates, or does not contain a date, or are between dates. So the filters here, both in date fields and in alphanumeric fields, are very, very critical and great feature for identifying and finding data in real time. Again, if you have any questions as I'm going along, feel free to type it in and we'll respond. Employees get assigned to different labor crafts, so I don't want an electrician, for example, doing carpentry work, or I might not want a custodian doing any hydraulic work, or depending on what my business is, I may have everybody have the same labor craft or skill, and that you can call it technician, or you can call it whatever you want in our system. You can also identify contract work versus in-house work, okay? So here's an example of service contract electrical, and then I may have an electrical internal employee. So that's one way of identifying work and how it's done, okay? And each labor craft can have different dollar rates associated with it. We can have up to 5 different labor rates. So a lot of clients have 3 different labor rates, and you notice I call this one regular time. I could rename this rate 2 to overtime, and rate 3 could be holiday or call-out pay, and rate 4 might be a different rate, and rate 5, and you can rename these fields, and then we have additional user fields that show, and there's user fields throughout the system. So when people say, I need my system customized, you really don't have to do that. You go to the specific data fields, and if I go to that labor craft, or trades as it's called here, I can change the name of this field simply by going here and selecting it and say, this is now the overtime rate, okay? And I save that, and everywhere throughout the system now, that's going to be called overtime. So if I go back and look at my labor craft and select one right here in the list view, it's called overtime. And if I go to the detail of the labor craft rate, it's now called overtime. So you can see how you can take naming conventions that are specific to your industry and apply them to any data field throughout the system. We also can assign work orders to contractors. Okay, so we've identified a labor craft over here that says this is a contract electrical, and then I can identify all my electrical contractors in a list. So I'm going to take a break. We've got a question here. Is it possible name fixed filled in another language? Absolutely. First of all, in our system, and this is for everyone, one of the things that we have is a language translation built into the system. So I'm going to close this question box. And you'll see here that in our demo system, we don't have all the languages that we support loaded, but you can see across the top all the languages we do support. Okay, and it includes double byte languages and Chinese and so forth. We have Hebrew, we have Russian, Spanish, Thai, Swedish, and so forth. So again, you can also go in to that data field and put the name in multiple languages. So if I go to my trade craft here, and I wanted to put overtime, and if I knew what the Spanish translation for overtime was, for example, whatever it might be, I can save that, and now if I go to my personnel labor craft field, you'll see that if I would have translated this into Spanish or any other language, they would both show on that field. So there's lots of capabilities in this system to not only adapt it to terminology, but to language. Thank you for that question. Going back to contractors, these are all the people that we identify a contractor as someone who would do work in your facility. Versus a vendor. A vendor would be somebody that you only buy material from, that would not come into your organization to do any work. Some organizations have both, okay? So ThyssenKrupp Airport Systems, for example, if I look at the detail of them, they're also a contractor because they'll go in and they handle people moving systems, for example, in airports. The long walkways that move are maintained by ThyssenKrupp and other vendors in that type of environment. So I don't need to type in a vendor twice because they're a contractor and a vendor. This little check mark here allows me to identify that they're both. I can identify what parts I buy from that vendor, what assets I've bought from them. I can put attachments on, so if I have a contract for a contractor or a vendor, I can attach it just like you would attach something to an email. And if I'm buying parts in the manufacturing environment or in retail environments today, sometimes things come in damaged, and we can keep a return log of what we've returned to the vendor for any reason in terms of something that we purchased, whether it's an asset or a parts we purchased or whatever. We do have a full purchasing system where you can create a requisition, turn it into a purchase order. We have an approval process based on individuals' purchasing authority. So when I set up my personnel, one of the things that I identify in their personnel details is their purchasing authority. If they create a requisition, I have a chain of command established. And when I set up the system that says if this person has a requisition that's over X number of dollars, it goes to the next person for review and approval. There's communication back and forth. You can set the number of days that you want to wait before an approval would be escalated to the next person in case somebody's sick or out on vacation for an extended period or whatever. We also can do receiving of purchase orders, obviously. All of this can be done on our mobile device, and it's designed for simplicity with the technician doing the receiving, and can track and move, identify the movement of parts between locations, stock rooms, facilities, whatever it might be. We also obviously produce a reorder list if you set your minimum and maximum reorder points. We can automatically create a PO as an option, or we can give you a list of things that need to be reordered. And then, of course, there's a whole purchasing history database as a result of this whole process. That's an important thing, too. The system actually contains an audit trail as an option so that we can be CFR certified for drug and food organizations. And that audit trail keeps track of what's changed, who did it, what was the value before, what was the value after the change, and so forth. So the audit trail is a optional capability within the system. Not everybody needs it. There's standard reports that are in the system, and again, we've been in business since '86, and we know the most common things that people look for in terms of reporting. And then we also support custom reports in Crystal, and those custom reports can be stored and rerun over and over and over again. But again, in a system like this, one of the important things is real-time data. When we do filtering in the system, one of the things that we can do is select records and export. Okay, so if I want to find something that contains AHU, for example, I can find all my air handling units that are in the system regardless of where they are, and I can select them. In this case, there are 30 items, and I'm showing 100 records on the page, so I can select them, and I could export to Excel, to PDF, or Word. Once I export, it will bring up a normal Excel file for me, and I can do whatever I need to do, manipulate the columns or whatever in real time from real-time data. So very powerful feature. The system supports barcoding and QR coding so that assets can be identified by an asset tag or a serial number. Right here it's called equipment tag. And that equipment tag can be a totally different number, or it could be the same number as the equipment number you put here. But either way, if it's different or identical, it's going to find the correct record. And we have technicians that can scan a barcode on a piece of equipment and create a work order on the fly, giving better documentation about what piece of equipment's being worked on, when, and using the mobile technology, dictate quality notes as to what's occurred as a result of the maintenance they've done. We have a service request module, so in this case, people do not need to log into the system. They'll have a screen, and those service requests will come in, and they can either be edited, they can be approved, or they can be declined. Again, the process that is associated around service requests doesn't preclude someone from picking up the phone, the facility manager or operations manager, and getting clarification on the request. But a lot of our clients require that something be documented through the service request process before any work occurs. This is not used for life and death situations or in a production down situation, for example. People use their existing protocols to get that type of work communicated. But in I need a blackboard hung, or I need shelving built, or I need something that isn't a today life and death production down situation, they're setting up processes where everybody must put in a service request. The advantage is it gets documented. It gives the manager the ability to determine and talk to the person that needs the work done and figure out the timing based on available staff and available hours and the need priority, okay? If everything's agreed upon, they can just accept that and turn it into a work order. And now my office in Wisconsin has become one of the newest work orders in the system of over 7,000 work orders that are open. So you can see right here, if I go to the work order view, it's the first one on the list. And the reason it is, I've sorted by work order number, descending, and our work order number consists of year, month, day, and a sequence number. This is the first one that's been created today. If I have multiple facilities, that will track each facility's work orders. So if I look at the airport, for example, that work order is not the newest one at that facility. In fact, that one came from March 7th, was the newest one at the airport. So as I break down each of my facilities, I can see which work order is new, the newest. If I go to my factory complex, I can see the newest one there. And if I go somewhere within the factory complex, go to the North Campus, I can change that list as well. So this is the newest one at that location. If I go to the production building, I'll see that that is in the production building. If I go further down into the building to the first floor, it's on the first floor. But if I go to production line 2, I'll see that that's not on production line 2. These are the work orders on production line 2. So as I break down each area, each room, whether it's a patient room or a production area, this gives me an overall view of what's going on in my facility in real time. You notice this contains different priorities. So we've identified response and so forth. I've got a question that's popped up. Can I upload the floor plan? You can upload the floor plan. That would not create the tree, but we have a perfect place to store that floor plan. And that would go, as an example, I'll open up my Canadian facility and my production site, and I'll go to the building, and that floor plan could be loaded as an attachment right here. We also have a partnership with Navis, which is a laser scanning operation where, and this is very futuristic for a lot of organizations, you can do virtual walkthrough of your facility looking at a tablet and touch a specific piece of equipment that would have a little icon on it, and it would show the work order that's associated with that piece of equipment. It gives you laser scanning of your facility that's completely accurate down to the 5mm level, and that becomes a virtual view. And if a area is remodeled or changed, you can actually rescan just a little segment that's changed and have it stitched into your building. So hospitals in particular tend to remodel a lot, and hospitals, shopping malls are great candidates in working with us. The other area is in factories where they're using automated vehicles. They need accurate dimensions so that the automated vehicle can be guided accurately. And again, that laser scanning partner of ours, together with our software, produces an opportunity to have a virtual reality accurately capable world. You don't have to wear goggles. It's not like the VR stuff you see on TV. This actually displays in 3D on your phone or your tablet. Thank you for that question. But right now, the attachment here would be the place to store that particular drawing. And we have a lot of clients in facilities of all types that store their drawings. That goes back to contractors as well. When you have a contract that you've drawn up with, whether it's a lawn service or a HVAC company, those contracts can be attached to the contractor so that you know where to go and find them. You can put things in the contractor detail like contract expiration date, all your contacts at the contractor and so forth can be stored here. You can have alternate contacts and things like that. And so again, good place, attachments to keep the data so it's well organized and easily found by anyone that should have access to the information. Great question. Preventive maintenance work orders are scheduled through our work order masters, and this little symbol here says there's a work order open from this PM master. We'll look at this particular one that doesn't. This is a semi-annual air handling unit maintenance, okay? And right now, the task says semi-annual, but they've scheduled it for every 2 months on the first Tuesday. Well, that might be a mistake, or it may have been corrected and the name is different, but let's go in and make this semi-annual. Since there's no work order open on it, I'm able to bring up the schedule, and it actually should have been every 6 months to be semi-annual, and I don't want it on the first Tuesday. I actually would like it on the second Wednesday of every 6 months. So, and I'm going to give the contractor 3 days to get that work done. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to go to my preview chart, and I'll be able to see it's going to be done February 8th. Notice it's a Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month, and down here it's going to be the second Wednesday in August. So it allows me to easily change my schedule. We can do things daily, we can do things weekly, monthly. Now, just because this says weekly One of the things I could have done is I could have gone here and said I want to do this every 26 weeks. Okay, so I could have accomplished the same thing in the weekly tab. Every year, there are things that need to be done every year, but there are also things that need to be done every 5 years. And so we can pick the specific month that it's going to be done in. I can pick the specific day, or I can say on the first Monday of May every year. So a tremendous amount of flexibility. We also interface to building management systems in real time, and we can interface via OPC, or Open Protocol Communication, to factory PLC controllers, okay? And that allows us to track runtime from either the building management system or the machinery on the factory floor. And I can schedule based on runtime. Now, if I'm not connected, and let's say I've got some delivery vehicles, or if I've got a few company cars or things like that, I can manually update my runtime in the specific asset that has, whether it's a vehicle or if it's a golf cart, for example. We've got college campuses that have lots of golf carts for the security and maintenance people. We can update the runtime manually on a Friday every week, and based on whatever unit I put in here, whether it's hours or miles or whatever it might be, I can trigger a work order when it reaches a threshold. So think of your car, every 3,000 miles you change the oil. If I put 3,000 in the runtime units or 90 calendar days, I can trigger a work order based on manual input without having it connected to anything. Tasks get set up, and this is great for an organization that needs to be documented as to what should be done and what did we tell the technician to do. And these tasks can have estimates associated with them. You can run a variance report on estimate versus actual as you build data over time. It's rich text, so you can actually highlight things here, and you can edit them. And next time I use this task now, or any work order that uses this task, it will be updated and have the note in to clean up after the job is done. We also encourage clients in their tasks to put in all the safety requirements as part of the task. If you need to use lockout, tagout, or personal protective equipment, put that in the task. And then every time that work order that uses that task is created, you're able to make sure that the technician or person doing the job has all the complete information they need, plus all the safety instructions and so forth. The best one I like at the end of the work order is, "Mom doesn't work here, clean up after yourself." We also can send surveys through the system to somebody that's requested work, saying, did we do it on time? Did we do the job as you requested? And that survey and a lot of the stuff in the settings here are easily configured. So here are the standard questions, and we store the results, and we can escalate a no answer to questions like this to whoever should see it. If they say yes, everything was good, the work order can be filed, and nobody needs to see it, obviously. We did our job as we're supposed to. The settings area is where we work with clients to make sure they get the data not only when they start, but 5 years or 10 years from now as they go forward, because a CMMS is a living, breathing system. Things change, you get new equipment, the equipment's discontinued, new rooms get added to buildings and things like that. So by identifying the different work types and identifying the different priorities accurately and the root cause failure reasons, okay? All of these things help us slice and dice information down to the specific asset. You know, why did something fail? Well, it was premature wear, or it was normal wear and tear, or sometimes if a motor fails and it's a $5 motor, it's too expensive to find out why it failed. But if it's a $50,000 motor, you're going to tear it apart and find out why it failed, okay? So whether it's operator error, or power failure, or whatever, by setting up these different failure reasons, you can track what's causing my problems and what's the root cause of those problems. Again, we've got a lot of flexibility. You can set tax rates and VAT rates in the purchasing side. You can set up different accounts and buyers and receivers, identify different shipping methods, and so forth. We can have service request notifications go out to different people. You can customize the message that people get when you approve or decline a work order. I can identify different company addresses, here's the Audit Trail settings. I can identify different countries I do business in, or currencies, departments, divisions. I can set up company non-working days, and when I do that, it's primarily for preventive maintenance, in that if I schedule something for the 4th of the month every month, that would be great in April, and it's fine in May, but when I get over here to June, that's the 4th, that's a Sunday, and that's a non-working day in my environment. If you're a hospital, you still may use this because your primary maintenance people are in Monday through Friday, and so you want preventive maintenance done on Monday through Friday to get all of the PM work done. It doesn't preclude demand maintenance work orders being written for any day of the week. So you have the option of scheduling to the next working day, in which case that PM would be done on a Monday here, or you could do it on the previous working day, in which case it would have been on Friday the 2nd in this particular month. So again, those are setup things that you can decide. They can be changed as you go forward. Nothing's cast in concrete. If I change the name of a data field, for example, and somebody doesn't like that name, I can go back and change it again. Everything is set up to be uniform so that you get quality data. So, for example, my measurement units I can put in. I shouldn't have an each and an EACH. So by setting things up here, if I want to use miles, for example, as a measurement unit, I can set it up and everybody gets a pull down so that these things stay consistent. Again, in our demo system, we've put different things in place, and just to show you that you didn't have to type each, you could type EA and use that if you wanted to. But we do the same thing for runtime units as well. So runtime units can be miles or kilometers or hours or whatever you want to put. There's no restrictions. It's an alphanumeric field. You can make it whatever you want. So that's the overview of the system. We appreciate your time today. If there's any questions, feel free to ask them now. You can always send questions to sales@eaglecmms.com or directly to me at harryk@eaglecmms.com. Any questions? We've got one coming in. Can you explain the translation feature? I just want to know whether I can change the entire interface to another language, for example, into Arabic. Absolutely, I'd be happy to explain that. As we set up users in the system, each user has the ability to see the system in whatever language they want. So if I set up something for Arabic, for example, I'm going to change the username here to R1, and I'm going to change my password so that I know what it is to log in. And I'll just save that, and I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as that person, R1. So if I log in now as R1 with my password, not only is the okay, in the demo system, the languages are not engaged, but what would normally happen here is that all the headings in the languages would change. Let me try a different language because I can see that the Arabic isn't engaged on this particular site. Let me log out and log in once more. And I know Spanish is in here, so I'll just pick Spanish as an alternative. And we do have a dealer in Sharjah that we've worked with for many years. And he can work with any clients in the Middle East. There we go. And we have quite a few clients that we've worked with over the years. So let me go back to R1 here and change their particular rights and roles. Just take a second. So I'll go to the user R1, and again, that filter allows me to easily find what I'm looking for here. And I'll change this, and I apologize, to Spanish, and I'll log out, save it, and log out, and now I'll log back in as R1. And assuming that my technicians have engaged the language translation table, you can see now that everything is translated into the specific language. And again, Arabic is supported, it's just not on our demonstration system. So I can go to reports and requisitions and work orders, and the translations in our system have been done by people that work in the industry, and it's not a Google Translate, it's actually translated in the language by people who work in CMMS and are knowledgeable of CMMS and so forth. So thank you for that question. Any other questions? Is there any possible to replay the webinar offline? Yes. I know it may be late where you are, as an example. We will send you a link to this webinar. Don't show them the failure of the language translation into Arabic, but we will have this on our webinar channel where you'll be able to show it. And there's other webinars out there as well that you'll be able to see. Any other questions, anybody? And again, we appreciate the time you've taken with us today. We look forward to helping your organization. And again, our training and our consulting services are critical in helping you become a quality user. It's not about the software, it's about all the good information that you're going to be able to put together and turn into actionable information to make good business decisions. So thank you. Have a great day wherever you are in the world, and we thank you very much for your time.